Greetings, everyone. How are you doing? There are loads of new people on my page within the last few weeks. So greetings, everyone. My name's Silva. Welcome to Free Flowing Thoughts. Tonight, well, it seems like upon popular request, we're doing yet another talk on all that supernatural stuff. This is pretty much a part one for 2025, but I've done many parts before, last year and the year before. Big up Divine. That's my girl right there, I'm telling you. Yeah, all right. I need to get my 2020s on because you look know I try to look cute, but I need the glasses. Hello.
How
That was
are
meant to
you?
be. Look, immediately, boom. Do you see that?
Yeah,
Hi, H. How are you
I'm doing
doing? Can
good.
we have a bit more lighting? We want to see this gorgeousness.
I had to move to the light. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Are you
accepting
going to be able to stand there the whole time?
if I need to.
Thank you. Hi, H. Welcome to Free Flame Thoughts. How are you doing?
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Thank you so much. Right, guys, just to brief you, tonight we have a few topics, but it's all in that kind of unusual realm of spirituality. Yeah, as we know, there's so many different sides of it. Yeah, and we have a few people want to talk about like dream interpretations, mirrors. Like
Yeah,
some people, some cultures always cover their mirrors at a certain time, don't put their mirrors in a certain place, whatever that means. We have bloodlines and, what comes with certain bloodlines. We have soul contracts, OBE and astral travel, like out of body experiences.
yeah.
So as you're first up, and guys, anyone watching, do you want to come in? You want to join in? You got a point to make? You want to shake it up? Come on in,
I'm
guys.
quite,
So H,
I'm quite
kick
happy if
off. I mean,
somebody. I'm quite happy if people want to join in. I'm all in for the
yeah.
discussion. Yeah. Um,
Fabulous. Is there any one of those you want to start with first? I'll let you
I'll
choose.
just to have a small brief about what I'm bringing to the table today.
Mhm.
My specialty is about dreaming and what most people call astral traveling. And
Amazing. Okay, let's get into the dreams. I mean, are you a dreamer? Because not everyone dreams, apparently.
I come from a bloodline, and we do dream work.
You
Um,
do dream, so you do dream work, did you say?
yes.
Oh, what is that? Dream
Um,
work.
the bloodline comes from the Arctic circle, and it is the land of the four winds. I represent the North Wind. Um, there's in our belief system, there's three different levels that, like, yes, three different levels. Most people can achieve the astral projection, and then there's higher levels of it. And yeah, I work mostly in dreams.
So go back a little bit. So, okay, so dreams, astral projection. Are we linking them right now at this stage? Are we?
Um, they they are we are putting them to the same realm of reality, but
Mm-hmm.
we're not linking them directly to each other. Because, like you
Okay.
said, not everybody sees dreams, and some people can travel different depths.
Okay, so let's get into actually like dreams itself then. I mean, do you do dream interpretation at all?
Um, not that much. I might sound silly. I go there when summoned.
Repeat that,
Might
please.
sound silly, but I go to the dream world when summoned. When somebody
So,
asks
so
me,
you are called from the dream world to enter
yes,
that. You're summoned from the dream world to enter that. Like, okay, get into it. I'm a student right now.
um, I'm gonna start from the beginning how it because all of today's subjects link together somehow. Um, I started practicing it about 20 years ago, and I did it a lot. I also overdid it, and nowadays I try to limit it. Like I do only a certain amount, and most often nowadays I access if somebody needs my help. And yeah, because the best way to like for to get most of it is that I'm telling this as a story. This is a story,
Okay.
and you can always ask what, like you do. That
Mm-hmm.
helps a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing is like to learn how to do the astral projection because it's not the same thing as a normal dream. Um,
Right, so let's okay, I want to take it slow. So I
yeah,
want to go back to actual people that have dreams. And for those of you that's watched some of my lives and told me off on my page for talking through my life, yeah, I need to make you understand that I ask relevant questions so that you can get certain answers. If you have questions that you'd like to know, please inbox it. But I'm going to interrupt the speaker so that we can gain bullet point
yeah,
responses for those who want to know certain
that
things. Yeah,
sounds
cool.
good.
So if I interrupt you, I'm not being
I
intentionally rude.
understand.
I need to
completely.
actually ask.
I
That's what we're
understand
code to.
completely. Yes.
But I've been told off for that. But yeah, just to let you know, yeah. So, all right. So let's go back to dreams.
Yeah. So
There are people that struggle with bad dreams, for an example, but you're not talking about that, are you? You're talking
no,
about a different type of
yeah,
realm, aren't you?
yeah, because yes, bad dreams is just one of the realms, and it's we could start from that because when you start to access these powers, that's the place where you often get sent first because you have to learn to solve problems there, and
Mhm.
and then more you learn, the deeper you go.
So, how do you get summoned to the dream world? Let me just go straight in there.
Oh, that's like if I have work to do. The last work gigs that I had was, I can give you examples. I was summoned to extend the dream world. We were building, we were building the universe. This is how I can explain it in words. I'm translating this from my native language as well, so
Hmm.
there's a bit of a language barrier. But it's there's entities on that side that asked me to join in. Then
Hmm.
last job was that we had like beehive shaped hexagonal pieces, and we were joining them to the end of reality to build the reality bigger.
Hmm.
That was one of the last jobs that I did do.
Well, how do you access that? So you go to sleep.
Um,
Talk us through that.
I'm
Talk
gonna
me
talk.
through this,
I'm gonna
please.
talk you through it. Um. First, you know how to meditate. First step to access, you need to know how to meditate. And
Mm-hmm.
usually, for a normal person, it takes 35 minutes if you're not um used to it. And you need to kind of clear your mind as best as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Then your body falls asleep, but you stay awake. Well,
Mm-hmm.
once the body is fall asleep, you start to peel yourself off. Like you peel your spirit body. Like I do it from my fingers. I start to move my fingers a bit, and then I notice that it's not connected to my body anymore, and then I can zoom out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all kinds of jobs on that side, like here.
Um, how young were you when you realized you had this ability?
I was called to do it. I've always do it because I could do it since I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to control. I learned how to control it around 19 years old. I
So it's
started.
something. So it's something that you didn't intentionally practice this. It's
No,
something. It's an ability you had naturally from very young.
no. I actually had a nightmare, and one of my ancestors came through. It was my great grandfather at the time, who I've never seen on this side, and it was.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up from a nightmare, but the characters stayed on this side with me, and they said that you got the curse or a blessing. It depends how you want to use it, and
Wow.
I decided to use it as a blessing.
Wow.
Uh,
So
and yeah,
is this a part of your blood? Sorry, forgive me, guys. I'm trying to
yes,
also correspond with the other guests down here
yeah,
secretly. Yeah, so my eyes
yeah.
are dropping. Beginning for that.
I'm quite happy to give space. So,
Yeah, no, that's okay. Thank you. Just explaining. Um, is this a part of your bloodline you're saying? So
yes,
you have other relatives that are able to access. Get into that a little bit. Like, what does other people do in your family? What does that look like?
um, teachers, um, shrink, um, coding. Um, not many have taken the non-physical, and I think that was why that's one of the reasons why it was left for me to pick up because nobody else answered the call. So, and I
What is the
answered it.
call? What is the call? What does that look like or sound?
I'm
Talk me
I'm
through it.
I'm gonna talk in
It's
my
so fascinating.
yeah
I'm almost like, what do I do with this? And I'm like,
um
okay.
because
Mm-hmm.
my system is the no ID system that comes from the Arctic Circle. My version is an interpretation of it because we live in modern times. Um, the calling usually in our culture begins by somebody coming very sick and they need to learn how to heal, but they need to heal themselves first before they can heal others.
Right.
And this is their calling. And um, you can ignore it, but it gets like only for so long. And some people ignore it for the whole of their lives, but they suffer from it. And I was like, well, let's go head on. Let's see what's on the other side. And the things that were there, they were scary in the beginning, but none of it is really anything to be scared of. It's just dreams. It's everything is like yourself.
Wow.
Everything is you.
So you're saying it was scary at first. So when you're in this dream-like state and you've been summoned from the dream world, shall I call it? Yeah.
Yes.
Um, how long do you how long are you there for before you end up
Um,
back into your body or
I can be. I think my um, I try to not to overextend myself these days, but I've been
Mhm.
over 10 hours in one go. But then you wake up very, very tired, and you have to eat special foods and to even get back. Like,
Wow.
and but nowadays, if somebody summons me to dream world, they come through on the because I stay on the normal side of the dreams. Like, I don't go to the other realms. And if they want to contact me, they contact me through that stage of dream. Then I wake up once. I drink a certain amount of water because that works as my timer, and then I access the realm I want to access.
Okay. So when you say you've overextended yourself, can you actually decide yourself how long you want to stay in that realm for before coming back?
With certain conditions, yes, but I cannot. Um, how do you call it? I wouldn't tell anybody else to do it. It's not something you should do, and I had to pay a very high price for it.
Tell me about
And
that price before we bring on the next speaker that we're going to talk about it together. Tell me, because you're going to have to come on as a solo or come back because there's too
yeah,
much of you
yeah.
to
No,
unlayer at this point, yeah? And I'm so fascinated by you
I'm
now.
quite happy to come another time. And
Yeah.
but yeah,
But no, stick around for now. But there's
yeah,
layers. This can't, like, you're not
yeah.
someone who can explain this in 5 minutes.
No,
There's layers to you that I had no
it's
idea
a
about.
system, and yeah,
Mm.
uh, I overextended my stay. I got
Mm-hmm.
even more sick. I had to go to the hospital. At the hospital, what I understand, I died. I met
Uh,
what I met what normal people call an angel. The angel like talked to me and said that, hey, you do you understand that you done something wrong? I said yes. Then they said, do you understand that there's a price to pay? Then I said yes. And then they asked, do you want to go back or do you want to go forward? Because I saw the crossing, the final crossing. And then I started to think, and they kicked me back here because I started thinking I wasn't, that was the decision. Something was left undone. So that's why I'm here.
okay. Guys, I'm going to pause you right there, H. I haven't even scratched the surface of you. And again, because we've started late today and so on and so on, and I'm trying to collaborate with myself. I'm a little, forgive me, guys. Stick with me for a moment, H. I'm going to bring on Will, and then I'm going to bring on our special guest. Hey.
Hey, I actually engage in intentional out of body experience. For me, it started off with reading and learning about it. I had heard people talk about astral travel, all of that kind of stuff, and so I started reading about it. Funny thing is, I actually read a lot about it through CIA unclassified files. You know, because it's one thing to read something from a spiritual portal, because spiritual people, they're going to talk about spiritual stuff. But when you start reading it from a scientific point of view, it's kind of like, oh, if the CIA is doing this, then there's definitely some truth to it. And so then I started practicing putting my body into sleep while keeping my mind aware. And I've had experiences where I've gotten out my body and turned around and saw myself laying in bed. Um, and so some of the things that I want to just throw out there is that when we're using the wording, right, astral projection versus astral travel, or OBE, because you can have an astral projection, but you don't actually leave your body. It's like you're projecting your consciousness somewhere else. It's what it's like the psychic ability where you're able to perceive something that's beyond your five senses. You're able to see someone down the street, or you're able to see, maybe I'm here and I could see you in England and I could tell you what's going on in your room while I'm still awake.
And
Astral
what's that
travel.
one called? That's
That's
astral travel, right?
that's
Yeah.
astral projection. That's projecting
Okay.
your consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Astral travel, or actual OBE, out of body experience. That's like having a near-death experience while not actually having a near-death experience. Because near-death is, they experience the same thing. They feel themselves come out their body. They'll walk around. Sometimes people will have near-death experiences and not realize that they're having a near-death experience, because it feels very physical in the beginning. You'll feel like you are walking around physically, and I tell people, I'm like, everybody has out-of-body experiences.
Yeah.
Either we don't remember, or we didn't realize it was an out-of-body experience. How many people get up and go to the bathroom? How many people have had this experience? I'm sure a lot of people in the comments can testify to this, where you get up, you go to the bathroom, you had to use the bathroom while you were asleep. You get up, go to the bathroom, then when you're like trying to do whatever it is that you're trying to do on the bathroom, number one or number two, you kind of like realize that you're in a dream. And then you actually wake up and you're like, what? But that was real. I walked through the hallway, I opened the door,
Is that
I
a
sat
common
down.
thing? Is that a common thing, guys?
That,
Like you're falling. And then when you
Yes,
hit the bottom,
yeah.
you
yes,
wake up.
yes, yes.
That's you coming back into your body.
Yes.
Or, or when you
And
jerk, you suddenly jerk or whatever.
Yeah.
right. You'll feel like you're moving, and then you suddenly wake up and shake yourself and wake up. You'll be like, where was I? That's OBE. When you go into REM sleep, we leave our body. Most of us don't
Yeah.
remember what happens. Maybe some of us will just float around. Some of us will actually go and do things, but when we come back, because we're not integrating the experience of the soul with the brain, because the brain is like a organic computer. There's
Yes.
things that happen, and the brain is like, I don't know what that was. So it just creates some false narrative, and you have these false memories or whatever, but if you can integrate the experiences of the soul with the brain, you'll actually begin to remember what you're doing out of body.
Yes. That was perfect.
Yeah. And so I say everyone can have. In fact, I teach, I tell people, if you want to experience actual reality, true reality, I
Yes.
say go do it through out of body experience. Because you have access to all things.
So you
I
said
view
that you train. Excuse me for interrupting you. You said that you're training people in this art now.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
What makes
good.
you a certified trainer? Like, is that is for me, guys? I'm not techie and all this, so I'm learning just like everybody else. But I've had my own little bizarre experiences. But in order to say you're teaching this practice, what level of understanding and awareness does one need? And maybe H can also speak on that as well. When you become a tutor on this, I think that's quite, speaks volumes.
So, and then H could jump in after this. But so this is what I'll say. Based on my knowledge of it, everyone has it. So I'm not training really teaching people how to do it. I'm training you how to remember what you're doing.
Oh, that's good. That's
You
good.
know,
That
That's
is
good, yeah.
that is
because
needed.
then people are gonna be like, "Oh, you're training, you're telling them to come out of the body," but everyone's doing it. So if I
That
start to teach you how to remember, how to stay
yeah.
aware while your body falls asleep, you're gonna realize that you've been coming out of your body the whole time.
I think H likes that one. H like that's a bar right
Mhm.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So.
So you could jump in, H.
Yeah, because everybody has their own special gifts, and everyone can only teach so much, and you need kind
Mm.
of all sides of the picture to get the whole picture. So yeah,
Yeah, I view this reality as like a simulation. Once I started having out of body experiences, I started to realize how this is like an organic simulation that we're
yes.
living in.
Um,
You know that, and hmm
from our system of doing it, we view this as a dream as well.
mm, yeah, this is the
Yes,
dream. You know, and when you're having an out of body experience, that's when you're actually awake.
yes.
You know, that's when you actually go back to your full self of who you were before incarnation.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
call
because
that source. Yeah,
we're all billions of years old. If we could even put a
yes.
number on it, we've been around for a very long time. You know, we have our own personalities. We have all these experiences. We've been on other planets. You know, we just don't remember. And we could talk about why we don't remember when we get here. But there's some sort of amnesia that we're living through and
Mm.
on this planet. But it's lifting, you know, because more
Yes,
people are remembering past lives.
that's why I was asked to come.
Wow. Can I ask? I'm going to throw a couple of spanners in there. I think the first thing I'd like to ask is, well, right about now, guys, I think there's still a massive, whether you call it the spiritual, crew or the woke networks or whatever words that people want to put to this, that the lifestyle of the calling or the chosen one, whatever people want to put to it, it's become, I think, very, very awaresome and popular, this type of practice. And as you said, there's a difference between astral travel, and sleep paralysis. So let's now look at the sleep paralysis, because we hear about that a lot more in the Western world, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
putting it down to sleep paralysis, where some people's like, no, that wasn't sleep paralysis that I had. So
Um,
can anyone kind of share with me? I'm going to go to the comments in the next few minutes. Can you guys share with me like what you think the difference is, or what you know the difference is between astral travel, or whatever different terms that you've mentioned today, and then the sleep paralysis? Can either of you help me identify, me and the audience, please?
I can help a little bit.
Mhm.
We view it as a bit of a glitch. It's like
Mhm.
when you're not connecting fully, and
Mm-hmm.
it can happen for many reasons, but we tend to view it as a glitch. It's not dangerous. It's just uncomfortable. That's my take on it.
Mm.
Yeah, 100% agree. Because so I never experienced sleep paralysis until I started trying to practice intentional OBE. I've heard people talk about it. They feel like someone's sitting on their chest. They see demons, you know, all kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay, so can I stay on that one?
Hmm.
What is your, because remember, guys, knowing and belief, two different things. I've said this, I always say this, right? And we don't tend to subscribe to things that we can't prove or haven't lived, right? So in terms of sleep paralysis, for those who experienced it, which I have, that's what they want to call it. I mean, it can be freaky, yeah, depending on what you've
Yeah,
experienced, right? Now, again, the Western world, I've never read it saying that it's connected to the spiritual realm. They don't connect that to spirituality in any
Yeah, yeah.
form, the light or the dark spirituality, right?
Hmm.
Depending on your experience, that weren't just I'm laying there at ease. Some people I've had traumatic experiences.
Hmm.
Thankfully, I don't have that anymore, but I've had traumatic where I'm like, I've woken up and throughout the whole day, I'm actually feeling distressed.
Yeah, I think H
And then
described it perfectly.
I called for backup. So once I called for
You called the
backup,
backup.
I called for backup. I won't disclose what that is. Yeah. Once I called for backup and educated myself, I think whatever that was became scared of me.
yeah,
Right, right.
Once you
So,
educate, you become a lot more, even though it's uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on sleep paralysis? You get those who just feel like, something's, I guess, holding them down, or maybe they can't move, or they try to scream and it's not so uncomfortable. Others maybe had more traumatic experiences. They probably thought they saw things, or they went into a different REM state, or whatever it is. Can you guys help me? I don't know, understand.
So
I can
I'll
help.
throw a few things out there. Go ahead, Edge. Go ahead.
Yeah, because it's like the scientific explanation is that like your ski, your brain is in a certain state when you sleep, and it goes into like alpha, beta, theta, delta, and then the pattern gets disrupted. There's many versions to many ways to get disruption in it. There can be medically induced, there can be man-made, and then there can be by accident, and then there can be like a natural one as well. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not and it's not anything to be afraid of because the way to break out of it is to wiggle, like same way that I explained the peeling. You make a small movement and you get the movement getting bigger, and then you eventually fall out of it. Or then, if you can, laugh at the things you see. They don't like anything happy.
I'll tell you how, thank you for sharing that. I'll tell you with me, what came to me when it happened the first time was years and years ago, a friend saying to me, "Oh, when you dream, as in regular dream, when you have like regular bad dreams," she was like, "You can control it." I'm like, "How can you control it? I don't believe that." And actually, when it was happening to me, it came to me. And I personally chose to recite the Psalms. Yeah, I
Mm,
chose to recite scriptures. And the reason why, because I felt like I was freaking out. And I
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
felt like this feeling came over me that said, if you freak out, you may not come out of this alive, whatever
Mm,
realm you're in. So
mm,
calm the what down, calm down,
mm,
take control. And I started reciting the Lord's Prayer. And then somehow I went back into a regular sleep and then woke up.
Mm.
And I was calm. There was no traumatization on that day until it became a little bit horrified. Yeah. But
mm,
I have learned to like completely be calm
yeah.
when I'm actually freaking out in that realm. It's so weird. It's so
No,
weird.
that is.
Yeah.
I want to join in from here because yeah, everything that happens in that realm happens by vibration, the law of vibration, and by holding a certain vibration, that gives you access to it in the first place. And then once
Mm.
you learn the vibrations, you can move freely. But you have to learn the vibrations one by one, and that's why those kind of things happen because you need to overcome
Mm.
it.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, no, I was listening. I'll throw my 2 cents in there. Um, as Tesla said, we got to understand the universe in terms of vibration, frequency, and energy,
Yes.
right? And
Mm.
so when I experienced sleep paralysis for the first time, I knew what it was because I had already read about it. I was already practicing OBE. I knew I had to go through sleep paralysis to come out of body,
Mm.
and so what happens to a lot of people is
Yes.
they're almost out of body, and it's going to feel like sleep paralysis
It's
because your body
very
is
uncomfortable.
in
Yes.
REM sleep, but we could call
Mm.
it your astral body, your soul. We could use different words. It's right at the edge of coming out, but your body is in REM sleep. And what happens too is that the moment you begin to fear or feel
Hmm.
uncomfortable, emotions, and it's in every realm, but especially in higher density realms
Yes.
like what we call the spirit realm, emotions are tangible.
Mm.
Yes.
While
Uh,
mhm.
yeah. Go on.
Yeah,
Go on.
yeah, emotions are tangible, and so you'll actually see things based on your emotion. And if you fear, also what happens is your frequency operates as a magnet. And so once you start to fear, you're going to attract everything that has to do with fear. It's like,
Exactly.
even here, you throw in some rotten food outside, flies come out of nowhere, because they're attracted to that. And your fear works as a magnet, just like love works as a
Yes.
magnet as
Yes.
well,
Yes.
you know.
Exactly.
hmm
And
Let me,
there.
let me throw an experience in. Someone also shared with me some time ago that they were sleeping, and
Hmm.
I can relate to the feeling. okay, if you're very in tune with yourself as a spiritual being, you might be able to feel the difference in atmosphere change, whether you've walked into somewhere or someone's walked into your house or whatever it is, and you can feel the atmosphere change, right? And this person was saying to me that they were sleeping and they felt like someone had come into their room. They had
That's normal.
they had their feeling like someone had come into their room, and they were aware, but they didn't want to open their eyes, but they knew it wasn't a
Um,
physical person,
that
right? Now listen to this. Then they were like, they felt like the person had like kind of crouched over them and like held them down, and it was petrifying. And they were like, I was not dreaming.
oh,
I
that
was
happened.
no, she was dreaming at first. She was asleep, should I say? And then she woke up in a certain
Yeah, that
realm,
in
and
between
this happened. But
space.
she felt someone enter the room, and then again just started to calm herself down,
Yeah.
and then it disappeared. But just like me, she woke up like, oh, it was just a dream. But she was aware that this didn't feel like a regular dream. What would you say that was? Where did she go?
Uh,
Did someone come to her in spirit?
I have something to give in this point. That
Mm.
happens to me very often. I struggle to sleep in any kind of flat apartments, like flats where there's multiple people stacked in like levels, because so many people wander in their dreams and enter the dream world, like, and then because the dream world is shared, so they just, because in one time I was at my friend's place and there was an older lady living next door, and she was trying to wake me up constantly and ask if I want coffee, and she was very like um good-hearted, but she didn't understand she was asleep, and I couldn't get much sleep that night.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So before you go on, Will, can anyone give me an example, viewer or my guest, about what that happens to the individual that told me that this happened to them? Like going to bed usually like an ordinary night and feeling like someone entered the room and felt like someone walked around the bed. She could literally feel the sensation, but she had gone to sleep, but had felt, and it's almost like she said that she had woken up in a dream world, but had her eyes closed because she didn't want to see it. Didn't want to see whatever it was, but felt someone pressing down on her as if they were going to have sex with her, but didn't.
Yeah. I mean, she was in the in between space is what I call it. It's that space of where she's still in her body, but she's also her the way like H was describing. Her brain waves was probably already at the delta or at least theta. When you get into that in between space, a lot of times indigenous cultures they actually teach you how to get there. They
Yes,
use the drumming, the
yes,
the sounds, all of the dances. It's about getting into a trance so that you can see the spirit realm
yes.
and interact with the spirit realm. And we that happens naturally when we go to sleep. So that's what was going on. The person walking up, holding her down, I can't really attest to all of that. I have heard stories like that because
I've
I'm
definitely
Haitian.
had the whole down feeling at least 3 times in my life.
Oh yeah,
That
see,
that
I'm
other
Haitian,
that
and in our culture, that those kind of stuff
Oh,
happens.
you
Yeah,
know
happens a
about what I'm
lot.
talking about then.
Yeah, but what I'll say before I turn it over to H, what I will say is, I always tell people, and this is what I teach, no matter where, no matter what setting. I'm an interfaith minister, so I teach in Christian. I've taught in mosques, I've taught in different spaces where they'll accept me. But one of the things that I teach is that the sovereignty of our divine self.
yes,
That we are extremely powerful. That we are God having a human experience, or you could just go God having an individual experience because it's beyond human. And so that you don't give away our sovereignty. Because what will happen is we'll get into situations and not realize that we can shut it down if we want.
yes.
We
Because
can get out of it if we
we
want.
have the ultimate power to
Exactly.
do so.
And I'm an interfaith minister.
What does
I function.
interfaith mean? Because obviously the church system wouldn't have nothing to do with this conversation. They'd be
Oh,
like, what? You are demonic, you're this, you're that. So
yeah.
how the
Inner
contradiction of it all, talk to us about that part.
interfaith means you're able to go in between different faiths. I'm not one specific thing. I'm not
Okay.
specifically Christian. I'm not specifically, Jewish. I'm not specifically Muslim. I'm interfaith.
Okay.
Oh,
Um,
yes,
yeah,
because we
yeah.
learned that as well. We study it as well, like all of this.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Right. I grew up as a Christian pastor. Was a Christian pastor for a while. Then my beliefs begin to, I guess I say, expand. I don't throw away where I was, the beliefs that I had. I just added to, my philosophy is that it doesn't have to be this or that. It could be this and
Mm.
that.
Yeah, same,
Two people
same,
can be
definitely
right in
same.
different
Yes,
perspectives.
Well, that
but
would
this,
be like almost like how, not that I'm trying to get religious on this, but it's a bit like where we talk about religion and spirituality. But for some, they understand that they both entwine for them.
Right,
You know,
yeah,
even with the teaching, you know, it does entwine
yeah,
somewhere along the line for those who are religious.
right,
How do you become religious without having a spiritual? Because you're talking about spirit a lot, but
yeah,
for those of us who don't follow religion, then we would just be like, you know, we're following that spiritual path. So
right,
it
right.
can entwine, like as you said, but yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so how about I go to the comments before I go on? Is Kay Divine here? Because Kay Divine, there's two other ladies that want to talk about them having really bad sleep experiences. Before we move on to the next subject, I go to the comments. Is Kay Divine here? Let me see if she's here. Do you want to come on the live? Let's have a look. Let me send her a message.
Mhm.
Do you know, I can never do a talk for an hour, you know. In some ways, yes, when I'm doing interviews, but this is more chit chat.
It's all
Is
good.
Kay Divine here? Is Ari here? Is any of these people here?
I want to say one of
Right,
the,
okay.
because before I forget it, because it was a thing
Go
that
for it.
like I
Mhm.
remembered. Because one thing that I really advocate for is like good spiritual hygiene. Like if you get a bad reaction, you have to do things that bring you peace. Because you have to wash it off. Like whatever is
Give
your
us an example. Give
like
us
you
an
said
example of
about
what
your
that is.
like you said, like you did a prayer because that gave you peace. That
Mhm.
is
Right.
spiritual hygiene. That is a good practice. Like once you go to another realm, because it's not always nice. Because I often
Mm-mm.
die. I often die there. Like
Oh,
because it's a part of the mission sometimes, and then it might be a bit overwhelming coming to this side. So I do the thing what helps me, and it often is I live in Finland. It's sauna and whatnot. So I just wash off
wow.
the.
Yeah, I'll add to that because there's going to the other side, as in going to different dimensions, or you can actually walk here and experience Earth and go places,
Mm.
And there, once you start to have those experiences, you see some dark stuff. You see, you can go places that and experience or see or witness things that I would let me just say it like this because not to not say certain words that
No,
governments are hiding.
give us an example. We want to hear that, you know, we want to hear what that looks like, whether or not so, you know, the
Well,
pros and the cons, like let us know.
yeah, because
I've done
there are
places.
places that are veiled and are not supposed to be visited, and we leave them alone because I just don't
Give me
want to deal
an
with that.
example of what that is, like where?
Like places
Um,
where they hide children
Okay,
to
get into
do
it,
to
please,
do
because
to do to
I'm locked
do
in now. With their
there's
high
some
children,
there's
please
some
tell us. We've
very
never heard of any of this before. I haven't.
I haven't heard about it either because I'm on
well
a different continent.
oh I mean it's happening all over the world,
Go
so
on.
even in America, over 1 million children go missing a year,
Yeah,
That we know, yeah.
yeah, kidnapping children. So it's like, what are they doing with the kids? That's where you start to go down the rabbit hole of adrenochrome, I think is how you pronounce that word. Some of these blood drinking rituals.
That
You
we
go
know.
into, yeah, you go into these trafficking, sex trafficking, all of that kind of stuff. And a lot of people that are implicated in this kind of stuff are government officials and people. Some of the people are very well known, people that we'll see in front of us all the time.
Absolutely, that we know.
You know, and so you actually have once you're out of body, you can access these places.
yeah, because I know when
Because
you can access many places. The things that we have that are veiled are most likely to do with aircraft technology. They got guardians that do spirit guarding, and then they just throw you out. So
That
Really?
too, like let me just throw this out. An experience that I had. I tried to go to because I've heard rumors Antarctica. They had all this technology over there. Da 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 da. Alien technology. I tried to go. I got kicked out.
yeah, you get this.
How,
This
wait, what happened? Where have you gone? Hang on, can't see you. Oh, here you are, you're back. Okay, how did you try to get there and what does being kicked out look like? Or what, give us that example that, yeah, what is that? My battery needs, my alarm's going off. Yeah, how is that? What do you mean kicked out?
Have you ever watched the Doctor Strange movies?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay. Well, so let me just say, like, it feels like, well, what it felt like for me is like something was pushing me all the way back into my body. You know, it was like, you don't have access here. And again, that's why I said, I started off talking about the CIA having practicing all of this stuff. So they know and they practice intentionally all of this out of body stuff, and so while you can walk into a place out of body and people that are there in body can't see you, someone else out of body will
yes,
see you. And
yeah, because
And
sometimes that's how they
what
guard.
is you guys, what is, before we bring in Divine to talk about, Kay Divine talk about her dreams, tell us, what is the fascination or the desire that you two have to like practice this as a lifestyle? What is your aim? Like for me, this disclaimer, I do believe that something should be left alone. I'm not
Mhm.
saying it's this. I do believe that things that my ancestors may have practiced, it's not
mm,
for me necessarily to do now in 2025. I think there's a lot of us, especially in African spirituality, that are like, oh, my ancestors did this. And my philosophy is this: does that mean that everything they did, I am supposed to do here? No, because everyone don't have the same calling.
yes,
But in this generation, everyone is doing so much and they don't see the pros and cons. They just
no,
feel like, oh, my ancestors. And I'm like, some of them would not have chosen you to do that. You weren't called, you called it. There's a difference. And I think
yeah,
also, I don't think there's enough understanding for some of the things of consequences of what people, when they open Pandora's box. So I'm not saying that's you guys, because you, at this point, you must know why. But there are a lot of people that are just soul searching and trying everything. And I think that's pretty dangerous.
I would say
What's
yes.
your thoughts on that?
And I agree, and it's because unfortunately some people have to learn the hard way.
Hi.
Hello.
Are you in the dark shade
Yes,
intentionally? If you are, that's okay.
I'm I'm
You
I'm
are?
I'm I'm how I like it.
Okay. How
How's
are you guys?
everybody tonight?
That's all
We're great.
right.
We're great.
I'm all about people being themselves, but obviously I wasn't sure if that was intentional. So if that's what you want, that's perfectly fine. Give me one moment and I'm just gonna go to the comments. Divine talks about the energy circulation. Let me see. Let me go back. Right. Divine says we all have gifts we can tap into. Maybe we can look at the difference between is some things a gift or is some things about the bloodline. We can go on to that after, right, Will?
Hmm.
Um, let me see. There's a higher force that doesn't want us to know we have. Yeah, that's right, what we have. Exactly. Super cells. Yes. Let me see. You said Divine says you've had the falling and jerking experience. Yeah, I've had that too. Um, let's see. Right. So when you say Divine says you should be covering your head with something to protect your energy, do you mean them covering their head whilst they're having this conversation, or do you mean when they're trying to travel to different realms? Please let us know, Divine. Yeah. It's funny because my head's always covered. I've always got something on just because I love hats. All right. So whilst Divine is confirming that, let me welcome Kay. Is it Kay Divine? There's so many Divines on this app. Yeah, is it Kay Divine?
Yes. How you guys doing
Yeah.
tonight?
I'm very well. I
We are
think I'm
well.
attracted
We're
to Divine
well.
because I meet a lot of Divines along the way. Brilliant.
I know, right?
Welcome
Um,
to you. Thank you for joining. We're
yeah.
still talking about dreams. We haven't even got to the other side yet. So please share your experience of us, if you don't
Well,
mind.
mine, I really didn't have much to talk about as far as my dreams. What I was gonna discuss though, just segueing into where she said that you should have your head covered.
Mhm.
I feel like we're almost there. We just got to go a little bit deeper. I
While
kind of feel
you're
like
on the line, she says, have your head covered. Tell us about why that is divine, but carry on, Kay.
So the head covering aspect, I did have someone come up to me once when I was walking down on the pier of the water where I'm from, and they just was walking. You know how somebody walks past you and you get this feeling like they're looking at you, so you'll turn back and look back and see if they're still watching you. So I did that, and they literally was stopping. They stopped and just had all their attention on me, watching me walk away, right? So I was like, this is weird. And so I kept walking, and then they came after me and was like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And I said, sure. And they said, I don't know if you know, but you're walking around and you're aware. And I said, yeah, I'm aware. And they said, okay, well, you need to make sure that you're covering your head before. But it wasn't in the way of a physical covering. All of this is imaginary.
I,
It's that
I
simple.
agree. I
So
agree. Yeah, I
all you
agree.
have to do is say, "Hey, I have the intention of making sure that I am protected and my head is covered." So if you want to put an imaginary hat on, she said to use like one of those Chinese movies, how they have the hats, those dome hats that go over your head or something. She said, just put that on before you go. She said, because the light that's coming out your head is so vast. If I can see it, then
Wow.
you know what she said. You know what else can see it. And so with that being said, that's what I mean when I say we need to take it just a little bit deeper. When all these symbols that we're using it to like signify things, you can use them because it builds your strength, but it's the
Mhm.
power's all within you. So it's really not
Absolutely.
necessary to
Mhm.
do to have the head covering, but it's a symbolism
Mhm.
at
Mhm.
for a lot of different cultures, a lot of
I was
different
gonna say, because
nationalities.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, thank you for sharing that point because there are other cultures. For an example, if for some Rastafarians that I have known, they, for an example, if they, witnessed a body that's deceased, they will then cut off their locks. Yeah, for those who practice that, they're here. For some reason, I mean, I don't go to funerals, but when I did in my younger days, no one told me to cover my head, but I always felt like my hair should be covered, and no one said that. So sometimes I feel like we do things instinctively and it feels right, even if no one's told you. You just there's a memory there from whether it's before I was even born. So I do believe what you're saying is correct. On the flip side, I also know that the other divine in alignment, both of you, there's truth in both of what you're saying. I think sometimes it's about what's right for us in the time, in the moment.
That's right. It's just
You
like
know,
I used to walk around with a pocket full of crystals about 10 years ago. You
right.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
and this one meant this and this meant and that's not to say that that I'm more advanced. It's just that some people are woken up sooner or are aware. I really think it goes by age, to be honest. Like, I've always been told that this was my final lifetime,
Ooh,
like my final venture is a human. I should be able to graduate. Graduation has always been the key word. Graduation. So sometimes when I pull myself into the 3D and I'm fully submerged in the simulation, I forget that it's a game. You know,
wow. You're
and
next
so
level, See,
and
next
so I'd be
level.
like, oh God, oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm feeling all these emotions, but that's not what it's meant for in my walk. Emotions are meant to navigate me on which direction I need to move, not to feel it.
Ooh. Okay.
So when I
Wow.
feel a certain type of way, I'm like, okay, don't forget that you're here to graduate. So although you triggered me, now I know that it's time for me to take my hiatus from you, or
Mhm.
for this be the end of our walk together in this journey in this lifetime for me this time, because you're gonna pull me back into to me having to repeat this cycle again. And I'm kind of over it at this
Wow.
point, and I want to go to the next thing for me, the next cycle, which is to get out of the matrix as a whole, because what I feel like is it's assimilation, and our consciousness is uh our air, our breath. So
Yeah.
like I said, KRS-One once said, like, if you plug your nose,
Yes.
you'll pass out,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I saw
So
that last week. Yeah.
yeah, so if
Hmm.
you plug your nose, you'll pass out. That means you're unconscious.
You lose
So when
Yeah.
you're
consciousness.
breathing in this air and
You're
you're
breathing
breathing
in
in this life
consciousness.
force, then that means that you're aware of that. But if you're not, then you're not. So I'm aware now that I'm breathing in this air, but this is, where am I really? Because my voice is not attached to this body. Like when you hear yourself, where are you really projecting yourself in from? I feel like this is
Mm.
really like a projection, a projection. So we're projecting certain situations and circumstances and bloodlines that have been here, that we've been here over and over and over. But we're projecting this, and the goal is to be one with the most high consciousness, to be aware of this being that just the game, for us to be a part of that whole, because some have to shed a lot of bad, like karma, bloodline, juju, all this different stuff, because it won't merge and align with the greatest, highest frequency.
Mm.
So we're here to
Okay.
do that work. And when you're not
Mm.
ready, if you're just not ready, you'll come back. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to come
Mm.
back. But to me, I feel like what they're doing now is they're making us all meta. And so we are turning into a video game.
Mm.
Like one time I was off of mushrooms. It was about 3 years ago or so,
Mm.
maybe longer than that. It's probably like 4 years I will go. I took this major trip, and I was like, I want to just get super high off of mushrooms, right? So I
Mm.
took them, and I regretted it as soon as I did, because I was like, why did I do this? Oh my God. Now I can't do nothing. I'm on the ride. Now I got to just buckle up and take it, right?
Wow. What was it?
But when
What was
I,
it like? What was that like? What was the ride like?
so at first, I've had a lot of like close people die, like my children's fathers. Both of them had, one was murdered, one killed himself, then my mom died, then my brother, then my
Wow.
sister. So all this grief I had been holding on to, when I took those
Mm.
mushrooms, I heard their energy was around, and it was just like, so you've been holding on to all this kind of to be like a martyr, like like we don't need you to remember us this way, kind of like we need you to release that, because that doesn't make us feel more loved by you, that you're this hurt. It's
Mm.
holding you down. It's
Wow.
like you need to release it. So I literally stood in the shower for about 45 minutes or so, until the water started getting cold, and I bawled my eyes out, and
Mm.
I cried and I cried, and it just wouldn't stop. And I was just like, oh my God, it just won't stop. But that was all the emotion that I had been trying to be strong, just trying to be strong. I wasn't feeling it, because I still have children to take care of. I still got to go to work. I still got to do
Wow.
homework. I still got to, I still got to live this matrix life. But when I was able to release all that, I felt like a feather. Okay.
Wow.
Then I thought I had died. So I walked by my daughter, because my daughter sees, she can see. She's a seer, I'm a seer, and I actually also hear spirit, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
when I walked downstairs and she's looking at me kind of strange, I was like, I thought I already had died, because I didn't feel attached to my body. So I thought that I was dead, and she seen my spirit, right? And so I was like, do you see me right now? And she said, you're scaring me. What are you talking about? And I was like, do you see me? Like, do you see my physical body? She said, Mom, what's wrong with you? Right? And so I ran back to my bedroom, and I wasn't in the bed. So I said, okay, so I am alive, right? Because I didn't feel
What
my
made
feet
you
touching the
think?
ground. I
Right.
didn't feel
Okay.
nothing. So I was
Mm.
having an out of body experience, right? And
Woo.
so then I was like, well, let me go outside and see how I feel outside. Everything was like a stage. When you go to a play and everything, like they'll have a tree, but it's like one dimensional.
Mm. Mm.
The
Mm.
car was like where it's just a board and it's just the front of the
Mm.
car.
Mm.
I looked on, I had a projector in my room, and I was watching Black Magic. Shout out to Black Magic. Um, but I was watching them on YouTube or whatever, and his face was robotic.
Wow.
So it was like pixelated, where you can tell that it was, everything isn't what we really think it is. How it looks to us right now, that's a mask being put over our reality, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And so once you open that up, I was like, oh my God, this isn't real. Nothing is, this ain't really this ain't real.
It's an illusion.
It's an illusion. So And then one time I went into the casino and I had been off of mushrooms and I could see I could see creatures. Like they disguise themselves like us, but they wear masks and they're really
Mm,
short. They're short and so they portray themselves to be Asians because generally Asians are short statured people,
Mhm, mhm,
right?
mhm.
And so how I know that it was the truth is I was walking with my husband and we both went like this. Did you see that?
Oh,
We
both of
both
you.
seen it,
So allow me to ask you, was he on mushrooms
he
too?
was
Right. So
just like
allow me to ask you, do you have these experiences when you're not on mushrooms?
the one, yeah, been a long time ago, but I actually seen an attachment on my children's father. It was a reptilian
Tell
holograph.
me about
mm,
that.
It was about 20, it was about 19 and a half years ago, and I knew that something was on him. It's like a spirit because he bit me a couple of times in his sleep, and he didn't remember doing it.
Wow.
And so I started watching him a little more closely when he didn't know he
Mhm.
did it, and he got out the bed with his gun and was like, "Who's in here?" Because I was screaming like, "Ow, ow!" And he
Ah,
got
of
up and was like,
course.
"Who's in the house?" And I was like, It was you." And he was like, "What are you talking about?"
that's crazy.
Sorry.
And
I'm
he
glad
didn't
you
know
said
what
I
I
was
was
crying because
talking
I didn't want.
about. So I was like, I showed him my arm and I was like, "You bit me. Look how hard you bit me." He was like, "I did not do that." And I was like, "Yes, you did."
So
So
whilst
that's when I
he
start
was asleep, he turned around and bit you.
he was trying to take a bite out of my arm.
Wow.
That's
And
crazy.
so
And you're saying, what do you think? What do you think attached itself to him?
it,
What was that?
it was I think there's um different types of reptilians. So I think there's physical ones that are in the inner earth. I think that there's some that project themselves from Mars where they might be stationed in the inner part of Mars.
Mm.
Um and I think that they know our bloodlines. So
Mm.
with them knowing our bloodlines and where we're going to reincarnate and me and him might have been like enemies in a past life, and
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
maybe they were trying to use him to assassinate me because of who I am now, even though I'm not like some famous person or some. I done lived a lot of lifetimes to know that I've been that, you know
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
but I'm a lot more just reserved with my energy and the things that I hear and see. I kind of like keep it more. That's why I like it dark. I don't want really people like my family or friends to know that I do this kind of stuff because I'm already looked at as a outcast as it is. You know what I'm
Black
saying?
sheep.
The
Mm,
black sheep. You know what I'm saying? I'm the crazy one because I don't get pokes. You know what I'm saying? That kind of
mm,
stuff and all this extra stuff that they're doing out here. I'm the weirdo, right? And I'll take that. But it's been a real experience me having to live this out. I know that this journey is supposed to be an independent and a more solitary experience this time where
When
they
you
can't
said that,
come with me, even though I want them to. It's
mhm.
not their time to graduate with me. It's my time.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you to pause for a moment. Wow, that was so much surreal information that I'm like, my goodness, what is on an everyday perspective, what is life like for you? Because you mentioned earlier that you're on your last lifetime, and you said it with such conviction. So, what is your everyday life like? And there's a reason why I asked you whether you have these experiences when you're not having mushrooms for all the obvious reasons, right? Because if you're taking, altering stuff, you're going to have
I
different trips.
don't do
So,
anything no more.
right,
The,
okay.
the last time I took mushrooms, I didn't realize it till about maybe 3 days ago. The last time I did mushrooms, it gave me upset stomach. I had diarrhea. I know it might be TMI, but it purged me. I didn't want to smoke cigarettes. I didn't drink anyway. I was a heavy marijuana smoker, like all day long. I want to smoke weed and all that. I don't do nothing. Just that when I had that experience and I was like, I wonder what made me just totally be turned off. Like even the smell of it now, I just ugh. And I live somewhere where I can go around the corner and grab some. You know, it's not
You
hard to be
said it though.
accessible.
You said it's time to graduate.
It and it's just like it was just snatched out of my
Hmm.
needing that, you know. And now I'm starting to I put it in other things, like I'm working out and
Brilliant.
I take cold showers in the
Fabulous.
morning, and you know,
Mm.
and all these different things. I'm cleansing myself of the baby reptilians, which I think are parasites. I don't think they're parasites. I think that they are another form of reptilian.
As if,
Because you know, reptilians, they
wow.
kind of like they attach on and they siphon energy because they've been cut off. They've been cut off from source.
From
And
source.
we are source, right? We're fragments of source.
So
And so because
they
they're
use
cut
us like
off,
batteries.
yes, they attach on the batteries. And as well, what they do to keep us heavy and weighed down is that's why they spray us with all this metal and all that kind of stuff, because it allows them to stay in our body. They hide behind metal. So it's very important as people for us to be detoxing ourselves with some zeolite, some activated charcoal, all these different kind of things so that you can absorb all those metals. And with you doing that, it's going to eliminate a lot of those baby reptilians that also usurp your energy from the inside.
Mm.
What makes you think that things like parasites are baby reptilians?
Because they're parasites. What does a parasite do?
Tell me, let us know.
It, it
This is
it's
your
it's
rendition of what you feel.
it sucks you of your life force. It sucks you of your, you know, your nutrients. It just takes from you. And that's what a parasite does. So I look at things in layers, because you always got to go a step under that, and then a step under that, and a step under that, because this is a multi-dimensional reality that we're living. This is very much a plane of existence that has many different levels that we can't see into each one of them unless you cleanse yourself enough and you ask, it will be revealed to you. And
Hmm.
I've done
Mm.
that a couple of times. Like I even asked to see myself out of body, and
And what happened?
I I see myself. I'm just a bright blue light, a orb.
So do you would you say that you're the individual where you've had experiences without evoking it yourself, or do you actually participate in practices that allow you to have these experiences other than the mushrooms? Because obviously there are people that don't mean to do it and therefore they have no idea why it's happening. And then you have those who intentionally are the seeker of these practices. Which one would you say you are?
Both. But I
That's
think when
fair.
you don't know that you're doing it, something does. Something is
Mm.
using you when you're not. When you're not aware, something else knows that you're not aware, and it will use you. And so things that you think that you're conjuring up and you're doing yourself, you don't know that the voices in your ear, the directions you're being told ain't you. The only way you
Mm-hmm.
know that is when you've cleared your aura, your space, your surrounding, your community around you. You clean those things up enough, and you know when you start hearing that whisper that like, oh, self-harm and stuff like that, that ain't you.
What if
That
it
ain't you that wants to
is
do
that
those things to you.
what is it? Okay, let's just for a moment. What if it is the person? Because obviously you're speaking from a great perspective, but it can't be for everyone, right? So when we say that it isn't that person, sometimes it's unusual for their character. But what if it is that person? Because we've got to be mindful that one size does not fit all.
Well, I disagree. How I feel
Okay,
like
go
this
for
is
it. Go for it.
we're all one. We're all one
Mm-hmm. Very
consciousness.
true.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you hear and people that are schizophrenic and bipolar and have even those mental conditions, those are attachments. Those
Yeah,
are
yeah.
entities, or that is a fracture of one's being, a fracture of their consciousness. And since they're fractured, they're on different dimensions of time and space all at one time. So they're able to see into this or see into that
Mm.
collectively. So I
That's a
do
very,
think that
very
it's
well said.
not God's point to ever hurt itself, because that's what we are. We're just parts of fractal pieces of something really great, a God. You know what I'm saying? And I think we all are the same thing, and we're all having our different
Mm.
experiences. And so I
Mm.
do think that all those mental conditions and stuff like that aren't necessarily mental conditions, or they were caused because these entities know who we are from different bloodlines, and so they attack us all the time. They bombard us. They'll have people come and offer you certain drugs. Like somebody gave my daughter something. She's really tapped in. She was gone for 3 whole days. I didn't know she was going to ever come back. At
Wow.
15
Wow.
years old. Yes.
Is
15 years old.
she okay? Is she okay
Well,
now?
she's not all the way like she was, but she's like maybe 95% back to what she used to be.
And how long ago did she take those drugs?
And all it was, I think, was a CBD gummy.
Was that how
Um,
long ago did this happen? Was it recently or a
it
little
was like
while
a
ago?
year ago.
And
A
you
year ago.
would say from that one experience, something altered her mind and she hasn't come back 100%?
Mm-hmm. Like still today, she'll put stuff that should be going in the refrigerator. She'll put it in the cabinets, and vice versa. Just weird stuff like that. Or she doesn't like listening to certain music because she said she was trapped with those little things that dance. What are they called when when people take DMT and all that kind of stuff? How they said that they see these like this little robot things that dance around and stuff like that. Well, she was saying that she was trapped dancing and singing, and she was going like la 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 switch switch la la la, and she was going through different, like she was a jukebox,
Wow.
right?
Whoa.
She had the power of 20 men. I tried to subdue her, hold her down because she was screaming and going crazy. She kicked me. I flew and hit the wall, slid down the wall. Her 19-year-old brother tried to hold her. She beat him up, socked him. He was just, his head was going doop, doop, doop. She was just doop, 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 beating
So
him
she
up.
gains a different level of strength that she never had before,
Had
physically.
a whole different level of strength. And then for about 4 to 5 months, we couldn't play music around her. She would go, please, please, please stop, 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 stop. They're coming back.
Mm.
And so that's why I tell her, people that already could see into the veil naturally should never ever take certain things, and that's why I'm pulling off of it, because marijuana isn't natural anymore. It's not. They're spraying
Okay.
it with stuff, and it'll
Well, let
fracture
me ask you
you.
let me ask you to pause right there. First
Yeah.
of all, let me rewind on myself because I said one size doesn't fit all, and that is still a fact in different categories.
Yeah,
But
of course.
when you then said actually no, we're all one. Da, 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 I then have to take that back and be like, actually, according to what you were speaking about, you're 100%.
Mhm.
Do you understand? Because
Yeah.
obviously I'm saying what I'm saying, but that would be for a different category where one size does not fit all. But in the
Hmm.
category that we're related to right now, everything you said is 100%. So
Hmm.
I've learned from that and how you broke that down 100%.
Hmm.
Let me ask you to pause for 1 second and
Sure.
I'm going to see, I don't know where Nigel is, but the show goes on. Yeah.
Oh,
Is
machine
there anyone?
elves. That's what they are. They were the machine elves. He put it in the comments. That's what she's
Oh, okay.
seen. You guys need to Google that. That's what she's seen for 3 days.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, we're hoping that she gets back her 100%
Right.
self. And I'm really glad that she has you that has a level of understanding that can also nurture her through this and support her through this. What's your thoughts, Will? What's your thoughts on everything that Kate? Because that was like, whoa. What's your thoughts?
That
Any,
was
do you want to add anything to that?
um so much I could say. I mean, everything she said was so beautifully. Everything you said, Divine, was so beautifully
Wow. Yeah.
said. Your knowledge, your aura is,
Mm,
it's at peak level. So I love it.
it
I
is.
mean, I have had some of those experiences because, remember, grew up in the church, did all this pastor and stuff, of people coming with those attachments and being really strong. I've seen somebody climb up a wall like a lizard,
What?
you know. Yeah,
It's stuck.
You've seen
I've
this
seen it.
yourself.
I've
It's stuck to the
seen it
wall
with
as it's
my eyes.
going up.
Yeah, it climbed up to the wall, got to the roof or the ceiling, and then just kind of flapped back down and landed on his feet, like on his feet. I said it, but it was a guy landed on his feet and was like doing all these hissing noises. And
Where did this take place?
this was
What was the environment
this
you were
was
in?
this was a church. This was a church. They called me because though they see me now as the heretic, because I don't believe a lot of the religious stuff that they practice in that way.
Mm-hmm.
They were dealing with something. They're like, okay, this Jesus thing ain't working. Let's call the other guy.
Back up.
You know, and so yeah.
Yeah.
So they called me, and I just kind of sat there and just wanted to watch to see what he was doing because they were like telling me all this stuff that he was doing, and yeah, and then he just started acting crazy right when I walked in and was jumping on the wall and climbed up the wall like he was a lizard, and I was like, oh, that's new, you know, I ain't never seen that before, and yeah, and they were like, let's hold him down. I'm like, hey, I'm not touching him. First of all, I ain't touching nobody climbing up a wall like a lizard. You know. Yeah, I'm like, I'm not touching them. I'm like, we
Wow.
could do the spiritual thing, or we could
Did
call
you
the SWAT
actually see an
team and
attachment?
come get.
Did you see an attachment on him?
At that time, I didn't. Um, when you look him in the eye, you could tell he wasn't there. You
Right.
know, but I didn't see anything more beyond that. Later on, I've started seeing attachments. You know, when I started doing all the OBE stuff, and you know, they say when you do that, your third eye opens, all of that kind of stuff. You
I
know,
ain't
then
ready
I
for
started
that.
seeing attachments. Yeah, that's when I started
You
seeing
sound
attachments. Like,
hardcore, Kay. I thought you were ready for all of it. You sound
I'm
like,
not.
I know,
listen.
right?
I'm not because I know what they look like for real. You know what I'm saying? So once I already seen that, I don't want to go to where they are. So you got to make sure that your vibration is super, super elevated so that you're not going to walk into where they exist.
Yeah. So
So
what I
some
have
call it.
now is a spiritual center called Love Embassy.
Mm-hmm.
We have it based out of Vegas. We're going to build here in Miami as well. So what we wanted to do is build a center for all people, spirituality. Doesn't matter what religion you are, you know, and
Okay.
yeah, and we use creative arts, you know, music, all of that good stuff, inspirational speaking, you know, that to me, it's what the church outside of religion is actually supposed to be. You know, religion has
Absolutely.
distorted it. Yeah, religion has distorted it tremendously. And so that's what we have. And people, all kind of people come, and people sometimes, you know, in the beginning, we were like, you know, love and light, blah, blah, blah. But people started showing up with attachments, and we
Yeah.
realizing that this, you know, helping people detach from attachments, what the church calls deliverance, blah blah, et
That's the
cetera, et
hospital.
cetera. Yeah, it's a normal thing,
Yes,
and
it
when you
is. It
start
is.
going into the work of the ancestors, they did that. You know, they practiced, you know, removing attachments from people. I love it that she said parasites. You know, baby reptilians, perhaps, but
Ooh.
you know, and yeah, just like there's parasites in the natural, there's animals in the physical. There's all of that kind of stuff too in the spiritual realm. In fact, this physical realm is a copy of that. It's a little less, but it's a
Uh-huh.
copy
Yeah.
of the spiritual realm. So if there's parasites here, there's definitely parasites there. You
So
know, and
allow me to pause you guys here for a moment because
hmm
I'd like to bring H back in.
hmm
Before I do though, let me put something to both of you guys. Um, when it comes to people sleeping,
hmm
I have acknowledged. Let me tell you, I've acknowledged a couple of people whilst they're sleeping, and one in particular looks like they were very haunted and speaking through it, and also just all sorts, like tossing, turning, speaking through it. It's a regular pattern, right? And I'm like, can you tell if someone is haunted, or should I say, if they have an attachment on them? When I mean, does that sound
I
like it's something, or is that
yeah.
different?
I
If
Mm?
you're
think from day to day we all do.
not for real,
This was a bit
we
freaky.
all
I
got to
was
be
like, I've
cleansed.
not seen anything like that. It was real kind of um, a pattern consistently, like
Yeah,
sleeping, moaning, talking, apologizing, all sorts
I
going on.
think I think we have to. One of the things that needs to happen with humanity that needs to be restored is the restoration of trusting our intuition. You know,
Mm.
our intuition knows, and so many times we'll be in situations where we'll look at someone and be like, something's off, and then we'll ignore it,
Yeah,
only to later
that
on.
felt like,
Mhm.
yeah. I actually, it got to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm seeing this a few times now. I'm not in a position where we were to be like, vacating. But I was like, I was like, that's making my spirit feel like you need something,
Something,
you need like
yeah,
saving
something
your
wrong.
ass
Yeah,
or
yeah.
prayers or something. And I'm like, Yeah, cover me, cover me. That's how I
We
felt
gotta
because
we gotta
it
trust
was,
that.
it didn't,
Yeah, you
yeah,
gotta
I
trust that.
did. I
Mhm.
did.
Yeah, they're
All
always
right.
around. They're always around. My daughter once, when she was about 6, she was watching me sleep and she walked in my room and she slid in my bed and covered her head with the cover and whispered, "Mommy, something is watching you sleep. It's got wings and red eyes."
Jesus.
And
Whoop.
and I was like, "What?" And so I woke up and there was nothing there, right? But
Oh nah.
she drew me a picture afterwards and it looked like, have you guys ever seen The Children's Inn?
Mm-mm.
The children's
I
end, no.
recommend, I just, if you're not hip to him, his name is B Dale, Bdell, on YouTube. He said, watch this movie. You guys need to watch. This is what's going on right now. This is like maybe 4 days ago, right? So I said, hey, go put on this movie. And so I said, oh, I remember seeing this. There's 3 parts to it. When they got to the second part, because I never got that far, they drew the thing and it was exactly what she drew on that paper. And I called her in here and I said, come in here, come in here. And
Wow.
she came in there and I said, do you remember drawing that? She said, Mom, I don't like seeing stuff like that. I said, I didn't told you. Fear brings them in here. I need you to know
Yes,
you
yes,
cannot be
yes, yes.
scared. You are
That's good.
protected here. I didn't salted my doors, windows, everything's good up in here, right?
Mm.
Mm.
And so she said, "No, I don't remember." And I said, "You drew that when you was like 6, 7 years old." And she said that it was just staring at me, but it was big. Its feet didn't touch the floor, so it had wings, and it was floating and just watching me. So, like I said, they know who we are.
This type of talk is never going to be half an hour, an hour. It's like 3 days. It's like we're here for 3 days straight,
Yeah.
yeah? And we're just scratching the surface. Um, I'm gonna bring H back on, but before I do, I'd like to say thank you to Kay Divine
All
because I
right.
just feel like you made me feel like you said this much, but there
Oh
were
nah.
layers.
There
Like
was a
there
lot
was
of layers.
so like literally and clearly you might have to block me because I might have to have you back. I'm warning you.
There's a lot more.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
really even take you 3%,
Hang
but
on, hang on, honey, I be knowing this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we're very grateful for you joining us. Feel free to hang around. And I'm going to be doing different parts. And for anyone watching this, if there's something that pricks you, inspires you, and you want to actually be like, this is what I've experienced, or this is what I know, or this is what I think, inbox me. I'll schedule a live, even exclusive by yourself or group one like this.
all right.
But for now, thank you so much,
You're
sister, for
welcome. Let
gracing
me
us with
see how
your
I can get
presence.
off of here. I'm not familiar, so
Yeah.
give me a
Press,
second.
there's a little cross on the top. H, welcome
Hey.
back.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, have you been listening? Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah,
Do you want to give any feedback on the last thing that
yeah.
this
I
case
got
said?
we got similar things. I've seen and witnessed, and we call them with different names. One is parasites, but we believe a bit differently. We believe it's like
Mhm.
it's kind of like the way that it works. It stems from also from negative self-talk, and
Mhm.
you're supposed to starve them.
Aha.
Do not give them energy. You starve them.
That's good. That's good.
So is that with
And
fasting? Would that be with fasting, for an
no,
example?
no, no, no.
Or
It's do not feed those negative thoughts. Just
ah,
like when you find the thought accessing you, just say delete and do not give it energy. That, that's how we
mm.
deal with it.
So changing the mindset,
Yes,
the frequency, the vibration in
yes.
ourselves. Would
Into
that
the
be, because
spirit.
obviously some people raise their vibration through drumming or listening to
Yes,
sound frequencies.
yes.
How would you suggest that we change our mindset when we're feeling quite negative?
I at this point I do it by just um, how do you call it in English? Like
Mm.
knowing that that is there, and then telling that vibration to delete it. So, and just remove it
Mm.
and not feed it anymore. I used to do drumming in the beginning. I used to do binaural beats and stuff like
Binary
that.
beats, yeah.
And
Yeah.
but nowadays I just come aware and intentionally not feed it entities like the same way.
100%.
That's why you use it as a tool. So yeah.
What music would you say, from your experience perspective? Maybe you can both touch on this before we go to the next subject for the next 10 minutes. What music would you say, from your real lived experience, or what you know from the realms that you both have visited or do visit, that that, you know, will pull you into that dark side of spirituality? Obviously, we have the light and the dark, right? There's no light without dark.
Anything that is made by that intention in mind, because it
So
was
that
never
could be what we call over here maybe trap music or killing music or that
you
kind of music.
you got your name for it. You know what it is when it's done with the intention, because it's it, somebody was talking about projections, because we believe
Mhm.
that you can project in truth and then it multiplies, or you can project an illusion, but the illusion is needs feeding,
Mhm.
so it's not
Mhm.
advised to do so, and they are often harmful. So you do not engage in that kind of activities. I do not listen to a lot of music at all. I do not consume media that is low vibrational, and I do not eat food that is low vibrational. At least
Very, very
I
good.
aspire. So it's not always like you cannot do it 100%. That's not the point, but to be intentional about it.
Mm. Thank you for that. I'm going to ask you both a closing question on this subject, definitely, but before we move on. How would you guys say, because obviously people talk a lot about, you know, attachment during sex, you know, spiritual attachment and all this kind of stuff, Ria. How could someone possibly identify if they have, I don't know, had an attachment on them through the person they slept with, or do you know anything about this side? We're talking about realms here, or why,
Mm,
or even why spirits in certain, even when you're sleeping, why it feels like they, you know, having sex with a spirit, all this kind of stuff. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I need to think
Oh,
for a bit.
so
Anyone know about the, do you know what I mean? You have the non-sleeping version, which is like you're sleeping with a physical person, and maybe after sleeping with them, all this stuff starts happening in your life, and you know, see as a spirit kind of attached itself through that person.
It's
And then you have when you've gone to
it's
sleep and
the
someone from
the
the
short
sleep world,
answer. The short answer that I can give, it's energy exchange, because that
that
is what the
that
SEX
exactly.
means. So, and most people who carry these attachments don't do it intentionally, and it's not
Hmm.
their choice. It's unawareness,
Okay.
and I think like when it comes to sex, they most likely need energy.
Okay. And And what
um,
about when people are not having physical sex, but they've gone to sleep and they feel as though a spirit is sleep, has had sex with them? Literally. What do you know anything about that
That's
part, or
different.
how people?
That's different because if some people know some systems, people can visit each other during sleep, but that's a different thing. And then other thing is to use it correctly and not to misuse it.
I think we could jump into bloodlines and soul contracts because they kind of merge.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, there was something that Divine said here when she was on here, where she said that sometimes, and I'm paraphrasing, she didn't say it like this, but um, how I would say it, mirroring what she said, is that sometimes we get so caught up in this life that we forget it's a game, right? We
Oh.
forget how finite it is, that, we're
Mm.
really not here for a long time.
Mhm.
And we forget to enjoy and explore
Yes.
and laugh and feel, like,
Mm.
because that's what it really is supposed to be
Yes.
about, so that
And
when we
sharing
leave,
experiences and
right,
bringing joy to
right,
others. And, yeah.
right, and if we go a bit deeper into the whole spiritual realm of things, there's a lot of non-physical beings that are enjoying watching our experience. Some of them want to incarnate and have not,
Of course. Of
and
course.
and
Really?
This is
and
one of
they're
the most.
living.
This is
Hmm.
one of the most, like, how do you call it, the planets that everybody wants to be on. So of
Right.
course.
Yeah,
Wow.
because it's a very intense experience. You can experience everything here: fear,
Yeah.
extreme fear, and you can
Extreme
experience
joy.
extreme love,
Yeah.
all at the
And
So
same
yeah.
time.
let me touch on what H just said. You said everybody wants to be here. So are we then saying there's entities or whatever you want to call them in different realms that want to keep coming here and even
Well,
maybe messing with people?
what were you before you born here? Like, it's just all of those things. Like, what have we been before we? Because we've been only alive for so many years, but we've existed for so long. So it's
Mm.
the same things that one, like as us, that want to be in human bodies, but different different people cope with it with different ways. But they can they're able to see.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. There's so much about the human potential, you know, if you start going deep into our DNA strands,
Yeah,
even
yes,
science says, you
yes,
know, like even
yes.
top scientists that don't believe none of the spiritual stuff, don't even believe in the existence of extraterrestrials, and they say
Mm.
it looks like
Mm.
our DNA has been
Yeah,
manipulated,
Mm.
you
there is a.
know.
It has been capped. Yes.
hmm You know, where we have two strands when we're supposed to have like 12. You know,
Um,
like our DNA has been
Mm.
capped,
I
where we have what they call junk DNA, which is
yeah.
actually, you know, unused,
Um,
scrambled DNA. It's like,
we
what's going on?
where I come from, we
hmm
believe in a bit different type of system. It's like there's
hmm
there's multiple different versions of the DNA strand, and
hmm
some of it needs activation. Some have gifts. Some get gifts later. Some people don't use their gifts, and
hmm
it depends on how you decide to. Like, is there? Do you get the do you answer the call and activate some, or do you get activated by force? And it's there's many
Oh,
different
oh
paths.
my goodness. I hope my friends listening to this, because me and my friend Divine was talking about this, little bits about it earlier. You just said, do you, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. You said activated by force.
Yeah,
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't get to that part. Whoa, okay. So for some of us who say, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to be me, I don't want to see certain things. I feel.
I understand.
I'm a feeler, and and also dreams, yeah. But I
Yeah,
don't want to see certain things, and I've been told, why would you ask not to see? Because I just feel like, you know, I'm aware that I can say it's not what I want in some areas,
yes,
yeah. It's, you know,
I
and in
do
other
understand.
areas, yeah. And in other areas, as you said,
Um,
it's forcefully
I
activated, but
No, yeah, but I think it has more to do like because I understand it myself because my experience is the same. I didn't want to see certain things, but the more I hold myself back from it, the more the source itself wants to show it to me. And then once I get to see it and to understand it, I was like, oh, that wasn't scary at all. It was my projection of it what was scary.
Mhm.
And yeah,
No,
That's well
absolutely. But
said. Well said.
I think you know your calling very well. But you know what I mean. Some people will call it again intuition, or some people
yeah,
call it vibes, or whatever it is. But I think that I am the type of individual that definitely
yeah.
is a feeler.
No, and
You know,
that is absolutely a good thing.
I'm
That
very much
is.
activated in that way.
And it's because it works also as your protection because you're only gonna be able to see it when you're ready. It's by
Mhm.
well, let's say look this let's use the English word divine timing.
But right, but
Well,
it's not for
that
okay. But there's people that has been, you know, mastering their craft for years. And it is not their thing to see. They may be the one that has dream revelations. They may
Hmm.
be the one that can smell spirits.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there's
yeah,
certain names for
the
different, yeah,
good
and some
sense of
people
it.
can do it all. And you know, for an example, I know a sister. She's on the socials, but she's very low key and
Hmm.
very much authentic of what she does.
Hmm.
And she said, I asked not to do reading. I can read, but I
Hmm.
choose not to.
I do
Because
the
I said,
same.
I don't want to do that. And obviously, because when you take on these roles, should you take it on,
Hmm.
it comes with responsibility, doesn't it?
Yes, of course it does. Yes, it's a job.
So
Right?
I'm gonna throw in the soul contract. Is we're awakened to things forcefully. You know,
Yeah.
we
Yes,
were on our path, minding our business, doing our little thing, and then all of a sudden, bam!
something
Sometimes
happened.
it's trauma, sometimes it's
Yeah.
something tragic, sometimes it's just an event, a life
Hmm.
change, something huge happens, and all of a sudden, you know, you're thrown into a whole different world, a whole different space, a whole different mindset that you didn't prepare for, or you never thought you would see yourself in.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, based on how I understand it, that's part of your soul contract where you agreed to go through certain things that was going to wake
I
you up,
agree. I agree.
Okay.
was going to
Um,
remind you of your mission.
yes.
You know, I was
Because
talking to a friend of mine. Sorry. Hey, let me just throw this in there that you got it. I
yeah.
was talking to a friend of mine just the other day where we were talking about, you know, the idea of religion, talking about the judgment of God, and I don't believe it in that way. But I did, you know, we were talking about how we believe there will be this sort of life review / feeling of judgment that we go through and the way we judge ourselves.
Yes.
And I always said that we wanna live life, and this is what I try to teach and mentor people towards, to live life like you're on a mission. Because what if this is just a what if, when you pass, and you leave this world, you leave this body, one of the first things that happens is you have a life review and you realize that you were over here doing this on the left when your mission was all the way over here somewhere.
Yeah, no, because I view it in a way that we come here to learn and to experience things we cannot on other places. It's a very unique place because it builds on duality. Because this can only exist in a duality state.
Right. Yeah. And collectively, I think we're here at this moment right now to participate in what many are calling the ascension of Earth.
Yes.
Where there's a mass awakening
that's why
happening right now.
I was called because I was kept. I work with my spirits, and they told me to keep it low for a very long time. And about the same time when you asked me to join in, they said, "Now you can speak. Now you're free to express it." So it is. I do agree wholeheartedly with the.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
Well, guys, how do you feel about doing, like, let's do a sequel? Yeah. And now that we are aware that we do not have the capability to cover all these topics in an hour or even two, now that we are aware, I think we can come on, let's start with part 2, maybe even do a part 3, and especially with you two guys, because I just feel like there's a wealth of information, experiences, and knowledge that you have, and I just feel like maybe people, even myself, would like to hear more about. So how do you guys feel about scheduling another live with me soon? Even before the end of this week, part 2, or we can go on to next week as a part 2. How do you feel about that?
I'm quite happy.
Available. I'm good. I'm down. I'm available.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So I'm going to go ahead and schedule that with you guys. I'll be in touch after the live. For now,
I have one thing to say. I'm quite happy to. I'm always happy to be here. This has been very good. I enjoy it a lot.
Thank you very much.
And I want to hear the whole 360. Because I want to understand as much as possible. And if anybody got any questions that wants to be they want answers, and if I have them, I'm happy to share them.
That's what I think the next one should be, especially, So I'm going to definitely schedule with you guys once I get off this live. Give me till tomorrow. We'll organize whether you when you can come back next within the next few days, guys. So we keep it in a time window. It's got that kind of sequel to it. Is there any super last words, very briefly, before you both go? Let's start with Will.
Well, it was an honor. I'm so glad that you had me on. I'm so glad that I got to communicate with you as well. H, got to hear and learn. I learned a lot too. Just listening to yourself, listening to what's her name, Divine, all of that. And so I'm glad to come back on. To everyone that was watching, peace and blessings to you all. And as H was saying, as Divine was saying, while don't take this in the wrong way, but don't take life so seriously that you forget to enjoy it.
It's not supposed to be heavy.
One of the best ways to raise your vibration is to laugh.
Oh, 100%.
Do something that makes you laugh. Do something that makes you smile.
100%.
Live through that. Create the portals through that. Peace and blessings to you all.
Divine says, it's great topics of conversation, guys. Well, thank you both for being present. For now, just thank you once again, guys, for joining me. You can then both exit the live with that little X whilst I give myself an outro to the viewers. Thank you very much. Good night. Namaste.
I also want to say thank you to everybody who was involved, because it was a blessing.
Yes.
It was a blessing. And big up K Divine. Woo, big up K Divine. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Night, night.
Night, night.
Night, night. Exactly. Laugh, dance, eat. Wow, guys, what do you think? What did you think of that live? I felt like I was rushing the live My whole persona was rushing the live. But guys, you are aware you've been here for 2 hours. Do you see my point? So had I not tried to navigate, we would have been here till midnight. Now, yeah. So my goodness, I've had such an amazing time actually, and everything worked out for its better good. Yeah. Wow. I'm gonna download this live. I'm going to be releasing snippets on different platforms. If you guys haven't subscribed to my YouTube yet, please do. Moving forward in the future, there's going to be different things on my YouTube. You know, I'm going to be doing different guests and different premises as well. I'm going to be doing live call-ins from here where you guys can call me if you don't want to be seen, and do live call-ins and so much more. But my YouTube is free flowing thoughts _, exactly the same as this page. Please go over, support the YouTube. Many of you have said to me, I don't want to watch the playback on Instagram. I want to see it on YouTube. So hey, please follow me, subscribe. I really appreciate it. Divine Lady, big up yourself. Yeah. Thank you very much. We're going to talk shortly. Thank you guys. Have an amazing night, and I'll see you again soon. Love you.